Okay, third out. Let's talk about some winners and losers of the deadline, Dalton. So I have a feeling, and I just have a sneaky suspicion that we're going to have sort of similar lists here. Maybe not. Maybe the winners are a little bit different than the losers. But I think the losers are always a little bit more like easy to point out, right? When a team loses at the deadline, you know that they lose. So let's see. Dalton, I'm going to let you go first. Winners, losers. What do you think?
All right, so I listed 3 winners, I listed 3 losers, and I listed 2 honorable mentions as well in each category because I am just a man full of takes. So I'll start with the winners just for the sake of positivity. One that I know you're going to mention as well, the St. Louis Cardinals, a clear winner at this deadline. They needed a really good starting pitcher. They went and got one in Eric Fetty. Like, that's flat out what he's been, is a really good starting pitcher.
Yep.
And they did it while also acquiring Tommy Pham, who is one of the top 5 bats on the market. Very solid rental outfielder. He seems like a total douchebag, but I mean,
I was going to say, despite being a douche,
like if you're confident that your clubhouse can handle that, like, he's a useful on-field player. We've had that conversation.
Yep.
So to acquire both of those guys, and then to go out and they got help for their bullpen as well, and they really didn't give up anything that was helping them in the present. I'll talk a little bit about the Dodgers acquiring Tommy Edman. Like, I think Tommy Edman's a loss that kind of stings because I think there's some value there, but he hasn't been providing them any value this year. Dylan Carlson, they've kind of given up on. And then other than that, when I first saw that 3-team deal come through, I'm like, what else did St. Louis give up? Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Because they didn't. I mean, they gave up one low-level prospect who ended up going to the Dodgers, not to the White Sox in the deal. Like, if you look at this deal from a St. Louis and Chicago perspective, right? Chicago got a pair of prospects from the Dodgers. That's it.
Isn't that funny?
And they gave up their 2 most valuable assets that they ended up trading to the Cardinals, who they got nothing from.
Yeah, it's really bizarre.
I mean, it's just, and I'll trust me, I'm going to talk more about that later. But hey, St. Louis made a killing. They acquired useful pieces without giving up anything that really provides any value to them at present. I applaud them for that. I'm going to run through the rest of mine a little bit quicker because I don't want to spend all day here. But Toronto, they got an absolute king's ransom for Kikuchi. Major league ready players, including Joey Loperfido, who I cannot believe was included in that deal. Yeah. They also got multiple prospects for Danny Jansen, multiple prospects for Nate Pearson. They got value for Yimi Garcia. They got something for Justin. They got offloaded Justin Turner for something. I mean, if nothing else, the Blue Jays are committed to the idea that, hey, if you're not going to be competing for a playoff spot, you might as well restock your farm. And they managed to restock their farm while maintaining the face of the franchise in Vladimir Guerrero Jr., maintaining a decent core of veteran starters that could turn around and pitch better next year. You could make an argument that they should have gone full fire sale. Yeah. I think that's a reasonable argument to make, but they clearly didn't feel that way. And given where they're at and how they feel about their organization, I don't think it could have gone a whole lot better for them. I didn't even mention the fact that they got a major league player for Kiermaier, who was basically retired. So, hey, good for them. Seattle made real improvements at the major league level. This is a team we've given a lot of shit on this show because they can't hit. Well, hey, Trader Jerry DiPoto went out there and acquired the best offensive player that got moved in Randy Arozarena, went out and got Justin Turner to DH and hit for contact a little bit, and of course he comes out and hits a grand slam in his first game with the Mariners. That was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And then they went out and got Jimmy Garcia for the bullpen. So hey, they got better. And the Mariners recognized that clutching all of their prospects is not going to get them where they need to get. They want to compete now, and they made an effort to compete now, and I respect them for it. So those are my 3 winners. Honorable mention I want to give to the Miami Marlins, who made an absolute killing acquiring 3 of the Padres' top 8 prospects for Tanner Scott, picking up Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers from the Orioles for Trevor Rogers. I mean, look, it's hard for me to like get too excited about a team that's like one of the worst in baseball and has a payroll of $15 million. I don't ever want to like encourage that. But if you're gonna sell, boy oh boy, did their farm system get today?
Yeah, so that's how you do it.
Yeah. The other honorable mention for me is the Dodgers. They don't make my top 3, but the fact that the Dodgers didn't have me coming away from the deadline frustrated is a really difficult thing for them to do.
Yeah.
They went out and got Jack Flaherty, who I think might have been the best starting pitcher that was moved. And they went out and got Kevin Kiermaier. They went out and got Tommy Edman, Michael Kopech. Like, nothing like earth shattering. But they also gave up one top 15 prospect at this deadline and got better. So, hey, I'll take it.
Yeah.
In general, a little bit of a seller's market, which is why two of the teams that two of the teams that at a top 5 that I thought did were sellers. Who do you think did best at the deadline? And then we'll go through who we think did the worst.
Yeah, it's 3 teams that you touched on already. The Dodgers were the first team that I wrote down. And it's just because I think that their deadline got saved at the very end with Flaherty. Like, I think they needed a starting pitcher. Jack Flaherty was somebody that they like. The Tigers, I thought like 24 hours before that Jack Flaherty was going to the Yankees. Like, once Nightingale, and of course it's Nightingale, right? Like, of course, but once he threw out that tweet, I was just like, oh, wow, I didn't expect it, but okay, that sounds pretty good. But they needed a starting pitcher, so they get Jack Flaherty. I thought Ahmed Rosario was actually a really solid pickup. He's been very good offensively for the Rays this year. So I was really into that move. Tommy Edman, again, if like I said, if he comes back from the injury and is what Tommy Edman is, which is just a solid utility player with some decent contact, I think you take that any day of the week.
Yeah.
I think they're going to turn Michael Kopech into a superstar. I get that feeling that Michael Kopech is just going to figure it out with the Dodgers all of a sudden.
Have you seen his first couple outings out of the pen?
I haven't.
He looks disgusting.
He looks disgusting. Dude, like, the guy is so sick.
Struck out all 3 batters he faced in his first outing against the Padres. Looked nasty against Oakland this weekend. Like, I don't know what Mark Pryor pulled him aside and told him, but in his first 2 relief outings with the Dodgers, he already looks like a problem. Dude, so that's
the guy has been like, he's always had sick stuff, right? Sick stuff, but he's never been able to put it together. And you just get the feeling that the Dodgers are going to make him into just a stud. Like, he's going to be Mason Miller. Like, that's just what he's going to be. He will end up being the Dodgers closer at some point or another. So I thought the Dodgers were a very big winner. Like you said, the Cardinals, I thought, not only just, and again, it's for everything that you just said, for getting Eric Fetty and Tommy Pham for virtually free. Like, they gave up nothing. And like you said, the guys that they gave up that were off of their big league roster, right? When they gave they traded Dylan Carlson to the Rays, right? When they traded Tommy Edman to the Dodgers, right? Tommy Edman has been injured all year. They've been having somewhat success without him. They don't really need him, right? Dylan Carlson was a player that promising young guy, but he didn't fit into their lineup anymore. He's just like they kind of gave up on him. They're done with him. So they move him. No big deal. They strengthen their starting pitching, which, again, has been a year-long sort of need for them. I mean, even after the offseason, when they signed Lance Lynn, they signed Kyle Gibson, they signed Sonny Gray, like, they needed more pitching, and Eric Fetty, I think, fills that gap. Tommy Pham is a better bat than Edman would have been, is a better bat than Dylan Carlson was. It's just an improvement overall. So I thought the Cardinals did a great job. And like you said before, I'm actually surprised. I shouldn't be surprised, but I thought I was going to kind of come out of left field with this. But the Toronto Blue Jays, I thought, did a really good job as well. I really think that, like, they're seeing what Vladdy Jr. is doing this year, and he's having a monster year now, right? Yeah. His numbers are off the charts. He's really good. Okay, they're looking at that and they're just like, well, look, Vladdy Jr. is like, we're going to get some pretty damn good years out of Vladdy Jr. for the next few years. Do we really want to offload everything and miss his window entirely, right? Like, I don't know if they want to do that. So what did they do? They kept George Springer, right? They kept Bichette. They kept Gausman. They kept Barrios. They kept Bassett. They kept a lot of guys that, like, you're going to go into next year and you're going to say, okay, like Toronto didn't make it work out last year, but that doesn't mean that they can't make it work out this year. Like, I don't know that you can give up on the Blue Jays. Like, just because it was one sort of failed project doesn't mean that they can't build off of the same sort of core that is working. So I think that was that's a really good one as well. So Dodgers, Cardinals, Blue Jays were the teams that I wrote down.
Cool. So no disagreement from me. One thing I'll say on Toronto, if they're going to do what they did at this deadline, you need to go extend Vlad Jr. at this point.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So, all right, let's get to some losers. I got 3 losers. I got a couple of honorable mentions. My number 1 loser at this deadline are the Minnesota Twins. You're right there in the playoff hunt. You've got a good roster, like a roster that we talked about is solid all around. They might not be great anywhere, but they're solid all around. And all you do is trade for Trevor Richards.
Yeah.
That's it. They were the last team to make a transaction at this deadline. To me, like, you're sending the message to your fans in your clubhouse that you don't really believe in them. And I just think that sucks. Yeah. And I say that as somebody who, like, one of my best buddies works for the Twins. But, like, I think they should have done more. I really do. So that bummed me out. As somebody who roots for the Twins, like, I wanted them to make some kind of a splash, and they kind of just sat there and watched. Because it's not like that Guardians team isn't vulnerable. Like, I mean, you're the Twins. The Twins are still in a position where if they get hot, they could end up with the 1 seed in the AL for all we know. Like, I don't know. There's not that much
4.5 games back.
Yeah. So, I mean, that really bummed me out.
Yeah.
Staying in that same portion of the country, Milwaukee. I mean, act like a first-place team, man. Like, you just lost Christian Yelich to a back injury where you don't know if he's going to play the rest of the year, and you don't acquire any bats.
Yeah.
I mean, like, are you trying to lose the division? Do you care? It just really bothered me. Like, I mean, look, I get it. Okay, yeah. You went and got Savale for your rotation. I mean, okay. But, like, what else did you do? Basically nothing.
You overpaid for Frankie Montas by a lot.
Oh, geez. Yeah. And Frankie, I'll put it this way. How many teams that are going to make the playoffs would Frankie Montas start a playoff game for?
Yeah, right. Right.
Maybe 1 out of every 5. Like,
yeah.
They didn't get better. I mean, I'm just being honest. They didn't get better. And they needed to make a move for a bat. And I don't think Milwaukee's going anywhere. I agree with you that I think this division, there's a pretty good chance they get overtaken. And if they don't get overtaken, I don't think they're going very far once we get into the postseason. No. So, Milwaukee, shame. The last one for me, and I get that we're beating the hell out of a dead horse, so I won't spend too much time on it, but the White Sox. Like, the sheer incompetence it takes to send away both Eric Fetty and Tommy Pham in the same deal, first of all, because you can get 2 separate returns for those guys. But you sent both of them away in the same deal, and everybody's looking at what the Astros got for Kikuchi, who Fetty is better than. And you got what? Miguel Vargas from the Dodgers in return, a player that the Dodgers had all but given up on. And then what was who else was it? I don't even remember the other Dodgers project.
Right.
Which tells you a lot, right? It's just like you would expect that the White Sox would come out of this deadline with a replenished form. Instead, they came out of it with virtually nothing. And the other side of it too, like I actually think the one good thing they did is not trading Crochet, because he's going to be so much more valuable in the trade market this offseason than he will be now.
Mm-hmm.
But you should trade Luis Robert if you can. Like, what are you holding on to him for? You're not going to compete while he's still under your wings. Like, get rid of him. Like, this whole thing about how they're asking for a Juan Soto package, which is something that we heard over and over with the White Sox. Like, maybe just don't ask for a Juan Soto package. Like, did you see what the Marlins got for Tanner Scott?
Yeah, right. Yep.
Go get that package for Luis Robert, and you're not the laughing stock of baseball.
Yeah.
Like, how are you this bad and you don't do anything to make your future better? I like we talked about it. I don't want to keep going into it, but I just feel for White Sox fans.
Yeah.
The two honorable mentions for me are the two teams atop the AL East, the Yankees and Orioles. The Yankees, the Jazz Chisholm get is a nice get that seems to be working out well. We already talked about this, though. I agree with you that there were opportunities for them to do more. They did not do enough, as I see it. Luckily for the Yankees, I kind of feel the same way about Baltimore. I mean, they went out and got Zach Eflin, cool. But other than that, I mean, you were taking relievers from the Phillies that the Phillies were kind of giving up on. And you went and got Eloy Jimenez to do I don't know what. I don't really know what they were thinking either. I mean, those are both teams that like should have been a lot heavier in the starting pitching market.
Yeah.
And I think there were more guys that could have moved. So, yeah, I mean, Yankees and Orioles, they're both lucky that the other one kind of sat there and just kind of hung out with them.
Yeah. Well, I think, like the Yankees, I think, like they're one of those losers, I think, where the moves they did make, I liked, right? Those are the moves they did make, and I liked them. I liked Mark Leiter Jr. I liked Jazz Chisholm.
Sure.
Daniel De Los Santos, whatever. You want to give him to Matt Blake, see if he can fix him. Okay, cool. I wanted Yandy Diaz so bad, but even with just give me another bat and another bullpen arm, and I would have been satisfied. If you want to tell me I'll roll with this rotation, I'll roll. I will I'll bank on Garrett Cole bouncing back, Carlos Rodon being great, Luis Gil being great. Okay.
Maybe.
You got guys in that rotation. You have 5 guys in that rotation that have been an all-star in the last 2 years. Okay. You want to bank on that to figure it out? Fine. It wasn't a heavy starting pitching market either. I'm okay with it. Yeah. Give me another bullpen arm. Give me another bat. That's what I wanted. But okay. Losers for me. Like I said, I didn't have any honorable mentions. I just have 3 losers here. The White Sox, I think you hit the nail on the head. They actually did nothing. That to me is so beyond the fact that they traded Eric Fetty, valuable starting pitcher. They traded Tommy Pham, who has been their best hitter all year, and they get nothing in return for anybody. That is so bizarre for me. It's actually insane. It's actually insane.
I mean, so, you talk about the returns that were better than that return. You look at what they got for Fetty and Pham combined. I would have taken the Jason Adam return over that, the Tanner Scott return over that, the Jack Flaherty return over that, you say Kikuchi return over that, and others that I'm not even mentioning.
Yeah, right. And as far as Luis Robert is concerned, okay, a Juan Soto type package. Luis Robert is hitting .214 with 12 home runs, 26 RBIs. He has a .282 on base, .432 slugging for a .714 OPS. And you want Juan Soto. Like that. You want Juan Soto, guys. You want a Juan Soto package. Pick one. Luis Robert is he's 27 years old. He's not that young. He's pretty young, but he's going to be he's going to be 28. He's going to be entering his age 28 season next year. Would you really consider him a young player at that point? No. He's a middle-aged player. By the time you're getting him, he's going to be at the tail end of his prime, probably. And what is he really? He's a career .270 hitter. He's got a career OPS of .812, which is great. It's good, but Juan Soto's generational. Luis Roberts, good. That's what you that to me is insane. So anyway, whatever. I'm done beating up the White Sox. Another one that you brought up before, the Milwaukee Brewers, I thought, and you and I discussed this last week too, where you're you're in first place and this is a winnable division, but it's also a very losable division. Like, you have the Cardinals, who did really well at the deadline. You have the Pirates, who are kind of creeping now, right? Like, even the Pirates added some bats, and they're small bats, but like they added Brian De La Cruz. They added Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Like they're not big bats, but they are bats. Like, and with that pitching staff, and all they need is an inch. You know what I mean? Like, they traded Frankie Montas. They gave up Jacob Junis and another prospect. Like, okay, like, are you really sure that move makes you better? I don't know that it does. They got that reliever from Colorado or whatever the hell. Like, okay, you made the point about Christian Yelich. They didn't add a single bat, and Christian Yelich, who was having a really solid year, you might not see again this year. Yeah. Like, it's bizarre. I thought that was really odd what they did. And I understand that it's a seller's market and everything like that. And I get that the price for pitching this year did kind of seem to be at a premium to some extent, right? Like, it certainly did. But still,
unless you're acquiring it from the White Sox, but yeah.
Unless you're acquiring Eric Fetty from the right. That's right. So, like, that's the thing, is if Eric Fetty got traded for that little, what do you think? You think you could have gotten Garrett Crochet for, like, I don't know, like Clint Frazier and Miguel Andujar? Like is that like what you could have gotten Garrett Crochet for?
I have to assume that the White Sox at least were smart enough to just take him off the market.
Yeah. Well, we got to see, man. It's got to be something. And then the other loser, and again, I'm surprised you didn't put them on your loser board, but I almost understand it. Because I'm putting them as a loser, but they may luck out and kind of benefit from it, is the San Diego Padres. Like, I thought the trades that they made for Tanner Scott and for Jason Adam were actually ridiculous. They're ridiculous. Okay. They gave up, what was it, 5 top 15 or 5 top 12 prospects for Jason Adam and Tanner Scott. As good as those guys are, right? Like, you look at their bullpen now, and it's pretty darn scary. I understand all that. But, like, they are literally going for it, and I don't know that they're good enough to go for it. Like, they're good, but if you're going to go for it, like, they went like half full bore, right? At least in my view. They gave up a ton for some relievers, but they didn't really grab a bat. They didn't really grab a starting pitcher. Okay, they improved their bullpen. Oh, cool.
I think when you talk about the Padres deadline, you do have to include Luis Arias in it a little bit, just in terms of like acquisitions that they've made this season.
Yeah. Okay.
But so here's my take on why the Padres, for me, didn't land near my bottom.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear this.
I think that I respect a team that's willing to pick a direction and sprint in that direction.
Yeah.
Now, do I think that they are sprinting in a direction that is going to eventually lead to like a really ugly car crash that we're all going to be stopping and staring at on the side of the road? Yes. But do I think that they actually like are a World Series contender this year, and that the deadline deals they made help them like actually become, in my mind, a World Series contender this year? Also, yes. So that's where, for me, I'm like, the deals they made for Jason Adam and Tanner Scott were stupid. You traded away 6 of your top 12 prospects for 2 rental relievers. There is absolutely no defending that from like an organizational, like long-term managing an organization standpoint. But
right. Yep.
If you're AJ Preller and your job is on the line this year and you're not leading your division and like you are desperate to win and win a World Series right now and nothing else matters, these are moves that make sense toward that. What I am surprised by is that they didn't trade the other 6 of their prospects for Luis Robert. That's what I'm surprised by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like they could have done that, and at that point, I almost feel like they should have. Like if you're going to go this balls to the wall of going all in, then like sacrifice everything. then.
Yeah.
Like that's how I feel about it. And as unrealistic as that is, because I don't work in an MLB front office. I get all that. But like you spend this much for relief help. Okay. Like how much at that point does it really hurt you all that much to go acquire some crazy ass bat and then just be like, okay, we're gonna go for it? Like, no. I don't think so.
Yeah. No, I mean I get it. I get it. And look, I don't think you're wrong necessarily to put them in the worst deadlines.
Mm-hmm.
I also think people could make a real argument to put them in the best deadlines category, like depending on how you define it, which is part of why I just left them in the middle. The Padres are completely nuts. But Mike, I got to tell you, like, I'm not sure that I would take the Dodgers or the Phillies in a 5-game series or in a 5 or 7 game series over San Diego right now. Like that's a tough choice. Like that's how good they are. Like when you look at that roster and you watch that team play, like between Dylan Cease, who looks like the best pitcher in baseball right now, Michael King, who's quietly been really good. I know how you feel about him, right? Matt Waldron has been really good.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and who knows if maybe you get something out of some of these other veterans down the line. Starting pitching is the only concern for them, though.
Yeah.
Like, this is the best bullpen in baseball right now.
Yeah.
And this lineup is pretty ridiculous. Like, having watched the Dodgers just face it earlier this week and having to deal with having to face them a lot this year, like, the Padres are really damn good, Mike. Like, they are. They're just really damn good. And they just went out and shortened games. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they won the World Series this year. Like, genuinely, I would not be surprised if they won the World Series this year. So it's just I can't put them in my worst because of that. But I completely agree with you that what they did is, like, just unjustifiably insane under any other circumstances.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm putting my reputation on the line here for putting the Padres in the loser category. They end up winning the World Series. They end up going to the NLCS. I'm going to end up eating my hat. So, like, you know, we'll see where we get from that. And I still think the Orioles giving up Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers for Trevor Rogers is bizarre. And that's kind of the thing, too, of like, that's how I think, you know, and it could have just been like an outlier dumb deal by the Orioles, right? But that's how you know it was a seller's market. Like Kyle Stowers and Connor Norby are unbelievably good prospects. And Trevor Rogers is a very mid starting pitcher.
Yeah.
Like if that's the price, then like maybe you can ease off some of your GMs. Like, you know what I mean? Like if that was the price for starting pitching, then okay, like back off now. I think we kind of have some semblance of understanding.